evolution of sound.
Beep beep, what's up ninjas? In today's topic, we are going to be discussing how to process an EDM lead properly. Now, if you guys haven't watched my video on how to layer leads properly, I suggest you watch that one because this one is only going to focus on one lead. Now, sometimes your tracks might just need one lead and that's it. You're not going to need to use any other lead because the lead you're using was just well done. For this track that I have here, we have this lead that sounds like this. Okay, so I have not added sidechain to it. It's unprocessed. That's the lead coming straight out of Silent 1, as you guys can see here. And pretty much, it's going to be a future bounce type of lead, and this is going to be how we're going to process it. Now, this lead can also be used for trap, which is the funny thing. Now, the first thing that we want to do is apply an EQ, and we want to get rid of the frequencies that we aren't using in the lead. So in order to figure this out, what we're going to do is play the lead. Now, when you hear the lead, it's very dominant in certain frequencies, but when you look at the EQ aid here, you're going to see it's all over the place, and you're like, okay, like, is it using all of the frequencies? It's not. So pretty much what we need to do is we need to decide how much we're going to cut from this. And I'm going to assume here, because the reason we got to cut, guys, a lot of you guys are going to be like, why don't you just leave it like that? It sounds good the way it sounds. Is because you cannot have everything in your track sound good, like really good, really big, because then everything in your track is going to fight. So in this video, we're processing an EDM lead, but I'm processing it already going into like, I need to make room for the bass. I need to make room for other elements in the track. The next thing is we're going to be using is going to be this high cut here. So we're going to cut. Around there, and pretty much that's going to be it for that. Now, if your sound does have some frequencies you don't really like, you can always remove them as well. So I like the way it sounds straight off the bat. The EQ was done stupendously on this patch here. It's a 2-pole type EQ in Silent 1. If you guys are interested in Silent 1 techniques, make sure to check the link in the description for some cool advanced techniques. Now, pretty much from here, what is the next thing we do, Senril? The next thing is going to be to see if the lead has a lot of dynamics. What this means is the lead going like all over the place in terms of volume? So if when we play it, so as you can see, the lead's not moving all over the place that much, so we can add a little bit of compression, but it's going to be very minimal to the point where it's barely there. It's just going to be there to kind of give it a little bit of a hint of it. Now we're going to be making up for the gain reduction because compression actually reduces volume. A lot of people think compression makes stuff loud the moment it's applied. It doesn't until you make up for it, because if I were to compress something, pretty much we're going to have the lowest part of our signal and the loudest part of a signal. Everything in between, that's the dynamic range. And as you squeeze, as you lower the dynamic range, what's getting lowered is that loud part. It's getting brought down to the low part. So you're going to be losing a lot of volume, but then when you make it back up, you bring this back up. This is the way. See my hands, because I have to hold the caps lock key. This is compressed. Let's say the microphone is the low part of the sound, the lowest part of the dynamic range, and then this is the highest part here. Now, as we compress it, this is what's happening, okay? And in between, the dynamic range is getting smaller and smaller as it goes down, right? Now, we're going to be here, and it's going to be low volume because, again, this is the lowest part of the sound. The highest part of the sound is getting squished down here. Now, the moment we bring this up, we increase the volume again, it's going to get loud, and now we have this much dynamic range. The sound's not going to move that much, but it's always going to stay loud, and that's why a lot of people think that compression makes shit loud. Okay, so what we're going to do is just, again, a hint, and then we're going to bring it back up. And that's going to be that. The next thing we're going to do is apply an S1 imager from Waves. Now, if you don't have this option, what you can do is you can utilize other ways to make this wide. I will talk about this in future videos, though, how to make your leads wide using only Ableton effects. That's for sure going to be in a future video. But for now, the S1 is the safest and fastest way of doing this. I apply a bit of width. And that's going to be it for that. Now, the next thing that I want to apply to my chain is going to be obviously reverb. The reverb from Silent 1 sounds amazing. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, it's a lot cleaner to have one reverb, which we're going to be utilizing here, called the Spark Verb, that I already have set up. Now UV has amazing plugins in my opinion. They hooked it up with other plugins, and I just never looked back. The only reverb I'm using now is called Sparkburb by UV. It looks really amazing, and I love it. I thank them for supplying it. I'll probably make a review about it in the future on how to use it on all that. But whenever it comes to EDM leads, what you want to use are going to be Hall type reverbs. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, no, Hall type reverbs move your sound back in the mix. Now, yes, while that is true, Hall type reverbs do move the sound that you put it on back in the mix. So pretty much, you know, it's getting moved to the back, making it sound less powerful. If you put the reverb in a return, it's a totally different story, because we're going to be keeping the dry signal dry, and all we're doing is sending some of that volume, aka some of the signal from silent one into our return, which is going to have only the wet signal. This lets us keep that dry, powerful sound, but at the same time adding a little bit of the reverb sound. So we already have the reverb there, as you can see. Now reverbs, just a quick tip, it's going to be less than 3 seconds. So between 1 to 3, you know, that's it. You can go even lower if you want. Just, you know, don't go above that, because reverb is really dirty. Now, what's the next thing to do? Well, the next thing to process a lead is we're going to have a couple of things we can do. One of them is going to add saturation. Now, saturation is going to be useful in the sense of adding harmonics to your sound. What this means technically, guys, is that there are going to be frequencies that are harmonic. When you play a note, there's going to be harmonic frequencies that pertain to that one note. Let's say you play an F. F is going to have a pitch depending on what interval it's in. And then you're going to have all these harmonic frequencies. So saturation is going to boost those. Now for this lead, since it's kind of wide, I'm going to add the saturation a little bit on the width and a little bit on the frequency, high frequencies, and just a tiny bit. It's going to obviously brighten the sound up a bit because we're doing it to the high frequencies, but I think it sounds good. It's going to make it louder, and a lot of the key things to making stuff sound loud is going to be saturation, guys. Now, if you notice, the compressor is over here, so pretty much we are going to be controlling the amount of volume that we're getting from the saturator, because there's going to be a lot more gain reduction. Okay. Now, the last and final thing I probably need to do, and everyone's going to know it, is going to be to sidechain the lead, and that's going to be it. Now, if you want to add delays and that stuff, that's totally up to you, but it's this simple, guys. You don't need to make, you know, processing like such, crazy. This is one way of doing it. Like, I could have gone different ways with this. I could have used an OTT or whatnot, but this is my way of doing it. It's just a guideline. Again, it's just one lead for this drop. Now, why do we have a sidechain? That's a question that I get asked a lot from a lot of new people and a lot of intermediate people that never learned a sidechain. The reason for the sidechain is not because we like the effect, but it's due to mixing. The reason the sidechain is there is because we always want the kick to be boom, hitting. And if there's something in the way of the kick, it's gonna fight. So in order to avoid that, we duck every sound, and when the kick hits, and then it comes back up. It gives us the pumping effect that a lot of people like, but in instance, it's being used to mix because you're getting rid of everything when the kick hits. That's the main purpose of it. And now when you play this with the kick, this is how it sounds like. Now keep in mind, I have nothing in the master, just an EQ3 for effects on the buildup. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, Samuel, you're clipping in the master. Clipping, to be honest, I've been working with, just the idea of, just like, how do you say it? Like letting it clip. A lot of artists are doing it, and then, there's some new methods like new mixing engineers are doing to get stuff loud. Cymatics does it. I know a lot of schools doing it. I know a lot of mixing engineers doing it, and I know a lot of producers doing it. And this is one of the ways where you can get your track to sound loud and still preserve dynamics without putting a fucking limiter on your master. So when you play it all together, the only thing that's bad about clipping is that it distorts, and it's not distorting, so that's the good thing. Alright guys, so I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to take care, have a happy New Year's, and we're going to be having a live stream in about 30 minutes probably, because I made this video at 10:41. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.